There is a moment when every empire, no matter how invincible it seems, hears the first cracks, but only when it is already too late. For more than a decade, Tesla was untouchable, the disruptor, the future. Elon Musk had built not just a car company, but a myth that stretched from Silicon Valley to Wall Street, that no one could catch him, let alone beat him. Until the day Ford and Toyota stepped onto the stage, not with promises, but with proof. It was not just about a better truck or a cheaper battery. It was about the future slipping through Elon Musk's fingers, live, in front of the world. So what happens when the rivals you mocked for years suddenly outthink you? What happens when the public you once mesmerized starts looking elsewhere? And what happens when the empire you built starts crumbling, before you even realize the war has changed? What's happening? In trying to look generous, Tesla armed its greatest rival. At first, it seemed like a goodwill gesture. Tesla announced that it would open its prized supercharger network. Pickup drivers, soccer moms, fleet operators had the same power at their fingertips. Public trust, once reserved for Tesla alone, began bleeding into Ford's court. For the average consumer who had hesitated to buy an electric vehicle because of charging worries, the equation had changed overnight. Why gamble on an untested startup or a vehicle with questionable range when you could get a Ford that charged at Tesla speeds and looked like a truck you already trusted? Ford's marketing machine wasted no time weaponizing the deal. Down here billboards built on real data, not hype. If you want the full story, not the sanitized headlines, make sure you're subscribed. Supercharger network to other automakers. The news made headlines, with many praising Elon Musk's open-source spirit. What most missed, however, was that Ford was waiting, and it pounced. When Ford inked the deal to access Tesla's superchargers, it caught even seasoned auto insiders by surprise. In a single move, Ford eliminated one of Tesla's greatest advantages: exclusive, fast, reliable charging infrastructure. For years, Tesla buyers had lorded the supercharger network over every other electric vehicle owner, mocking the slow, unreliable third-party stations scattered across the country. Now billboards appeared with simple, devastating slogans: the best of both worlds. Commercials showed workers charging their F-150 Lightnings at gleaming supercharger stations, the Ford logo shining under familiar red Tesla arches. It was not just advertising, it was psychological warfare. And behind the scenes, the cracks were getting personal. A silent war was about to erupt, one that would pit century-old manufacturing grit against Silicon Valley bravado. Jim Farley's silent war against Elon Musk. Jim Farley was not a flashy man. He did not hurl boasts across social media or hold grand unveilings in front of adoring fans. He played the long game, moving pieces quietly across the board while others were still setting theirs up. In public, Farley smiled, shook Musk's hand, praised Tesla's innovations. In private, the knives were being sharpened. Ford's internal documents revealed a campaign not just to match Tesla's technology, but to undermine its culture. Analysts were tasked with studying Tesla's weaknesses, its focus on luxury rather than utility, its controversial CEO's growing distractions, and its increasing detachment from the needs of ordinary Americans. Ford was not building futuristic fantasies. It was building workhorses for the real world. That distinction would be the spear aimed directly at Tesla's heart. Farley understood something crucial. Image mattered, and Tesla's image, once pristine, was becoming brittle. While Musk juggled space launches, brain chip startups, and social media takeovers, Farley focused Ford's entire electric vehicle strategy on one simple mantra: deliver what customers actually want without the drama. Publicly, Farley maintained a calm, almost deferential tone. Privately, sources say he reveled in Musk's growing obsession with Ford's every move. Tesla's CEO, used to laughing off competitors, reportedly began asking pointed questions during internal meetings. What's Ford doing about fleet deals? Why are Lightning deliveries ahead of schedule? Why are contractors switching? Farley was winning, not through bombast, but through discipline. And when the next blow landed, it would not be on the digital stage of social media. It would hit Tesla's balance sheets, where it hurt most. And then came the moment that would trigger Musk's fury, a brutal, undeniable shift that no tweet could undo. Every stat, every insider move, every market shift we're breaking down here is built lightning strike on Tesla's sales. Ford did the one thing Tesla feared most. It delivered at scale. For all the flash and hype surrounding Tesla, it remained vulnerable where it mattered most: production. Musk's grand promises often collided with the reality of manufacturing at scale. Delays, recalls, and bottlenecks had plagued Tesla's expansion for years. Ford, however, knew how to mass-produce vehicles. It had done so for over 100 years. As the F-150 Lightning rolled off assembly lines and into driveways across America, the impact was immediate. Construction companies placed bulk orders. Electrical utility companies replaced aging gas fleets with electric Lightnings. Individual buyers, wary of Tesla's polarizing aesthetics, flocked to the familiar shape and functionality of the Ford truck. Meanwhile, Cybertruck, Tesla's much-hyped, stainless steel sci-fi marvel, remained trapped in a cycle of delays and excuses. Production hurdles, redesigns, supplier shortages. Tesla fans clung to hope. But the real world was moving on. Ford's trucks were hauling lumber, towing trailers, powering tools at job sites. Tesla's trucks were still digital renderings and futuristic promises. The media, once quick to crown Tesla king of the electric revolution, began to shift its tone. Headlines once reserved for breathless admiration now carried an edge of doubt. Can Tesla keep up? Ford's Lightning leaves, Cybertruck in the dust. The unthinkable was happening. Ford was being framed as the pragmatic electric leader, while Tesla was framed as the dreamer that forgot to wake up. Ford's success was not just in the showroom. It was in the psyche of the American worker, the suburban family, the fleet manager signing a contract that would outlast quarterly fads. Every Lightning delivered was another crack in Tesla's mythos. And Ford was just getting started. But a much older enemy, one Tesla had long dismissed, was about to make its move. And what unfolded next would redefine not just the auto industry, but the entire future of mobility itself. Toyota redefines the EV war. The world expected Toyota to unveil another car, maybe a sleeker hybrid, maybe an electric update to an existing model. What nobody expected was what unfolded on that bright January day at the Consumer Electronics Show. Under the soft lights of the Las Vegas Convention Center, Toyota's executives took the stage, not with bombast, but with purpose. And in the span of less than 20 minutes, they redefined the entire battlefield. Akio Toyoda, now chairman of Toyota, spoke calmly, but with unmistakable force. Transportation, he said, was no longer just about getting from point A to point B. It was about reshaping how cities breathe, how traffic flows, how energy is distributed across nations. It was about designing ecosystems, not just cars. The bombshell announcements came one after another. Toyota unveiled its Woven City project, a living, breathing urban prototype built around smart infrastructure, autonomous mobility hubs, and adaptive AI systems. Roads that talk to cars, intersections that reroute traffic autonomously, vehicles that predict their own maintenance needs before a human notices a problem. It was a vision so large that Tesla's focus on self-driving sedans suddenly seemed quaint by comparison. Even more stunning was Toyota's hint at solid-state battery breakthroughs. No flashy prototypes were rolled out, no gimmicky light shows, just a simple promise. By 2027, Toyota would deliver electric vehicles that could charge in 10 minutes and drive over 800 kilometers on a single charge. Not vaporware, not wishful thinking. Technology already in lab testing, backed by Toyota's near-limitless manufacturing discipline. And then, without raising his voice, Toyota dropped one more bomb. Toyota was investing in mobility beyond Earth, satellites, orbital infrastructure, and zero-emission systems designed for space environments. It was a subtle but unmistakable shot across Elon Musk's bow. The message was clear: you are not the only dreamer anymore. We are coming, and we are bringing an army. As the presentation ended, murmurs filled the hall. Journalists, analysts, and tech insiders all felt the same thing. The ground had shifted. Toyota had not just entered the EV war, they had expanded it into a war for how the human race would move, live, and thrive. And in a quiet conference room hundreds of miles away, Elon Musk stared at the live feed with a rare look of concern. This was no longer just about cars. It was about who would own the future. And Elon? He was watching closely, too closely, the leaked insult that shattered the truce. Inside the fortified walls of Ford's headquarters in Dearborn and Toyota's skyscrapers in Nagoya, executives knew the stakes were rising. Publicly, civility prevailed. Polite statements about collaboration and shared goals for electrification floated through press releases. But privately, in boardrooms away from cameras and journalists, the tone was very different. It happened during a closed-door strategy meeting. Ford and Toyota executives, fresh off their respective victories, spoke candidly about Tesla and Elon Musk. One offhand comment, brutal, unsparing, would change everything. Elon Musk's reaction was immediate and volcanic. Witnesses described him as pacing furiously, slamming his fist against the conference table, canceling meetings with suppliers, and calling emergency sessions with Tesla's senior leadership. This was not just business anymore. This was personal. Publicly, Tesla tried to maintain composure. Carefully worded tweets spoke of focus on innovation and ignoring distractions, but the truth could not be hidden. Tesla's leadership was furious, and cracks were beginning to appear. Internal emails leaked, showing a company rattled by the disrespect. Meanwhile, Ford and Toyota stood back and said nothing. No clarifications, no denials, just silence. And that silence spoke louder than any denial could have. The truce between Tesla and the old giants was over. The mask of professionalism had slipped, and for the first time, Elon Musk realized he was not fighting mere competitors. He was fighting enemies who had been waiting for this moment for decades. But Tesla's problems were only just beginning, because the real collapse would not come from an insult. It would come from the slow, devastating crumbling of the empire Elon Musk had built. The numbers that broke Wall Street's faith. The numbers told a brutal story. Tesla sold 1,810,000 vehicles in 2023. In 2024, it sold 1,790,000. A small dip by ordinary standards perhaps, but for Tesla, a brand built on the myth of endless expansion, it was catastrophic. Analysts who had once competed to see who could raise their Tesla price targets higher suddenly reversed course. Downgrades rolled in from Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and Barclays. The stock fell 7.5% overnight. And the worst part? It was not a fluke. The collapse had been building quietly in places Musk had long considered safe ground. In China, Tesla's second largest market, local EV makers like BYD and NIO had launched a price war Tesla could not win. Vehicles with similar specs and better government incentives flooded the market. Tesla's sales plummeted by over 40% in a matter of months. Meanwhile, in Europe, new emissions regulations and fierce competition from Volkswagen, Renault, and even Ford's European arm squeezed Tesla's margins and slowed demand to a crawl. Headlines began to question what once seemed unthinkable. Was Tesla losing the global race it had started? At the same time, Ford was gaining serious traction in the United States. The F-150 Lightning continued to outsell expectations. The Mustang Mach-E was picking up suburban families, and Ford's E-Transit vans were filling delivery fleet orders that Tesla could not even bid on. Toyota, ever the patient giant, was quietly expanding its EV lineup with affordable, durable models that appealed to both budget-conscious buyers and loyalists who trusted the Toyota name more than Musk's flash. Suddenly, Tesla's decade-long aura of inevitability was shattered. Wall Street, once hypnotized, was waking up. The conversation around Tesla shifted from limitless potential to real-world vulnerabilities. Musk's aggressive expansion into social media, space, and brain chip ventures, once seen as visionary, now looked like distractions. For the first time since the Model S rolled off the assembly line, Tesla was not the future. It was a stock with serious questions hanging over it. But while Tesla's stumble on paper shook investors, the collapse on the streets, among the very customers who built Tesla's legend, was about to get much, much worse. And while Tesla faltered on paper, it would falter harder on the streets. Cybertruck's collapse, from hype to humiliation. The Cybertruck was supposed to be Elon Musk's victory lap, a symbol of Tesla's dominance and a vision of a bold electric future. It had been teased for years, hailed in countless think pieces as a revolutionary step in automotive design. Musk had promised an electric truck that was bulletproof, indestructible, faster than a Porsche, and tougher than any Ford F-150. The unveiling, with its infamous shattered windows, was a meme-worthy stumble, but fans laughed it off. When it finally reached production in late 2024, Tesla diehards braced themselves for the Cybertruck to change everything. It did, but not the way anyone had hoped. From the very first batch, Cybertruck owners reported bizarre problems. Panels misaligned so badly that daylight leaked through cabin seams. Windshield wipers the size of boat paddles malfunctioned within weeks. The armored glass, re-engineered after the embarrassing demo, still cracked under minor impacts. Worse yet, a recall notice surfaced within 3 months of launch, after it was discovered that the accelerator pedal could jam into the floor mat, causing unintended acceleration. The so-called indestructible beast could not even survive a pothole without complaints flooding social media. The memes were merciless. Photos of Cybertrucks stuck in suburban driveways next to flawless F-150 Lightnings went viral. Contractors posted videos mocking the Cybertruck's useless cargo bed design. Headlines joked that the Cybertruck was built more for Instagram influencers than real workers. Ford, ever patient, did not gloat publicly. They did not need to. They simply ran ads showing Lightnings hauling boats, towing construction trailers, and jump-starting stranded vehicles. No CGI, no drama. Just real-world utility that consumers could trust. Inside Tesla, panic set in. The Cybertruck was not just another product. It was the brand's statement vehicle, the futuristic icon Musk had tied Tesla's identity to. Watching it be reduced to a punchline cut deeper than missed sales targets. Musk himself lashed out on X, formerly Twitter, posting shaky videos of Cybertrucks allegedly outmuscling F-150s. Observers quickly pointed out that the Ford trucks in the videos were gas-powered, not electric. The damage was done. Tesla had promised the world a weapon. It delivered a toy, and the worst was yet to come because the Cybertruck fiasco did not just hurt Tesla's bottom line. It eroded the mythos that Tesla built itself on, and two old rivals were about to close the trap even tighter. Ford and Toyota forge an unspoken alliance. In the electric battlefield that once belonged solely to Tesla, something more dangerous than competition was quietly forming. Ford and Toyota, two giants who had fought each other for decades, were now aligning, not through formal contracts, not through public announcements, but through a silent mutual understanding. Both had seen Tesla dominate a market that neither could afford to surrender, and so, without ever officially shaking hands, they began carving up Tesla's empire piece by piece. Ford moved swiftly through the working-class heartlands of America, capturing fleet contracts, government programs, and the loyalty of everyday drivers. Their Lightning and E-Transit models were finding homes in police departments, delivery companies, and suburban driveways. Meanwhile, Toyota set its sights elsewhere. It targeted urban centers and overseas markets, rolling out efficient, compact crossovers and mobility services that appealed to mass commuters, not tech elites. Together, without ever announcing it, they divided the battlefield. Tesla, once untouchable, now faced a two-front war it was utterly unprepared for. Ford was undermining its domestic foundation, while Toyota was dismantling its future international growth. Even Tesla's much-touted supercharger dominance began to look irrelevant, as Ford and Toyota secured alternative charging partnerships and lured customers with more accessible infrastructure. Tesla was no longer fighting startups or sleepy legacy brands. It was facing two highly disciplined giants who had learned from Tesla's successes and its failures. The collaboration was so subtle that by the time Tesla's leadership noticed, it was already too late. Analyst reports quietly began linking Ford and Toyota together in their EV forecasts. Market shares shifted, infrastructure contracts slipped away, and for the first time in over a decade, Tesla was no longer setting the pace. It was reacting, scrambling. But while Tesla still clung to its dream of solo dominance, Ford and Toyota were already preparing the next battlefield. And Tesla would be forced to fight on a new, unfamiliar front, a battlefield that stretched far beyond the reach of highways or home garages. Toyota goes. Cosmic, the space front opens. While Ford and Toyota continued to erode Tesla's terrestrial dominance, Toyota had another, more ambitious plan already in motion. One that stretched beyond the roads and into the skies. For years, Elon Musk had been the undisputed king of the space frontier. SpaceX stood as the shining example of private aerospace triumph. No automaker dared to challenge him in that realm, until now. In a move that blindsided even industry insiders, Toyota ramped up its investments in aerospace through its partnership with Interstellar Technologies, a rising Japanese private spaceflight company. What looked like a mere side project was, in fact, a strategic masterstroke. Toyota was not just chasing satellites or moon rovers. It was building an integrated mobility ecosystem, one that connected smart cities on Earth with low-orbit infrastructure above. Transportation was no longer just about roads. It was about seamless movement between land, air, and orbit. The Woven City project, Toyota's smart city prototype nestled at the base of Mount Fuji, was no longer just a curious experiment. It became the testing ground for integrated traffic systems, autonomous logistics, and AI-driven urban planning. Electric vehicles, drones, satellite relays, autonomous deliveries, all interconnected in a way that Tesla's car-centric model could not easily match. Toyota was building the blueprint for the future, not just in manufacturing, but in living. Elon Musk, ever the visionary, had once inspired the world by promising to colonize Mars. But back on Earth, he was now being strategically outflanked. Toyota was not interested in flashy promises. It was quietly weaving the next phase of civilization itself: efficient, scalable, resilient. And for the first time, Musk realized the fight was no longer just about who could sell the most cars. It was about who could build the infrastructure for the next century. And back on Earth, Elon Musk was reaching his breaking point. Inside Elon Musk's private meltdown, behind Tesla's carefully curated public image, chaos was boiling over. Insider accounts painted a picture of a company spiraling into disarray as the pressure mounted. Elon Musk, known for his brash humor and boundless energy, was no longer brushing off competition with a smirk. He was lashing out, angry, exhausted, and cornered. Meetings were canceled without notice. Critical product reviews dissolved into shouting matches. Long-trusted executives were either sidelined or quietly pushed out. Staff turnover spiked as morale plummeted across Tesla's campuses. Engineers who once revered Musk's vision now whispered about leadership instability and growing paranoia. Strategic planning sessions became emotional battlegrounds, with Musk oscillating between bold new promises and furious tirades over Ford's and Toyota's rise. The collapse was not just operational, it was personal. Musk had built Tesla around his identity as the visionary underdog, the lone genius reshaping history. Seeing legacy automakers, brands he once mocked, catch up and, in some cases, pull ahead, hit deeper than any financial loss could. It struck at Musk's very sense of self. Outside observers noticed the change too. Once articulate and strategic during press appearances, Musk's interviews grew erratic. Cryptic posts on social media confused investors rather than inspiring them. Rumors swirled that board members were increasingly concerned about Tesla's ability to maintain focus in a market where competitors now moved faster, cleaner, and with less drama. The truth was simple and brutal. Ford and Toyota had changed the rules of engagement while Musk was still playing the old game. And the final blow that would seal Tesla's fate was not going to come with a bang. It would not be a loud, cinematic collapse like Musk had so often dramatized. It would be something quieter, more insidious. And the final blow would not be a crash, it would be a whisper. The death of the Tesla myth. Elon Musk had not simply built vehicles, he had built mythology. But myths, once cracked, crumble fast. By the beginning of 2025, the signs were undeniable. Tesla was no longer the automatic first choice in electric vehicles. It was just one name among many. Customers began cross-shopping with Ford, Toyota, Hyundai, and newcomers from China like BYD, not out of rebellion, but practicality. Tesla's uniqueness, the secret sauce that had made it invincible, was eroding. Ford commanded loyalty through familiarity and trust. Toyota captured the imagination with its broader, quieter revolution. Even in tech circles, Tesla lost ground. Rivals launched smart, reliable systems, while Musk's promises of robo-taxis and full self-driving remained largely unfulfilled. Investors who once worshipped every Musk tweet began hedging their bets. Enthusiasts who once defended every Tesla flaw now shrugged and asked why repairs cost so much and why panels still misaligned after all these years. The erosion was not dramatic. It was subtle. 1,000 small betrayals of the brand's promises piling up. A little less faith here, a little less excitement there. Until one day, Tesla was no longer the future. It was simply another expensive car company, fighting for shrinking slices of a market it had once been destined to rule. The world had moved on, and Tesla, once the symbol of unstoppable disruption, now found itself exactly where it never wanted to be. A symbol of what happens when you win the first revolution and lose the second. And the war for the future? It has only just begun. What do you think comes next? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're ready for the next breakdown they don't want you to see, hit subscribe before you go.